Shadow work is the hardest work to do. When people decide they want to change their lives, they do the deep dive, they avoid shadow work or they don't know about shadow work. But at least for me, when I learned about shadow work, it completely changed my life because I've spent years trying to heal the trauma of my past. I mean, so many of us have that. Sabotaging my progress. I mean, I'm a CEO of a not-for-profit, of a large not-for-profit, but I still was sabotaging. It doesn't matter how successful you are, you still can get in your own way because you still have those old programming buried away. And that's where shadow work comes in. Now, first, let me explain. Shadows are the bruises, the pains left on your soul that you may not even be aware of that are there. From birth until 7, 8, your mind's an open vessel. People can put anything into your mind because you haven't learned yet to disseminate information to say, okay, that's not true, I'll kick it out. So all the comments that when you were young, you internalize. And that's why a lot of times you don't remember them because you were so young. I mean, it's like people that said, and I talk a lot about weight loss because I'm filming this in December and we're getting ready to go to January 2021 and everybody says weight loss goals. Although I don't know after 2020 what everybody will do. You might have been told when you were young, oh, you're always chubby. You're not athletic like your brothers and your sisters. You're the smart one. You're the oldest, so you're the caregiver because you're going to take care of all the other kids. Whatever was told to you, or it could have been a relative. It could be a neighbor that's like, boy, your voice is like fingers on a chalkboard, or when you play violin, it sounds awful. And you incorporate these. And you don't know, like I said, they're there. When I was growing up, my Nana was 5 feet, probably in heels. And she was as round. I mean, when you hugged her, it was a hug of love. But she was heavy, and it drove my mother crazy because my mother was always thin. And she looked at me one time and said, you're never going to lose weight, so don't bother because you have a fat gene just like your Nana. I was so young, I bought into that I had the fat gene. I also, because I was the youngest, my dad liked to drink. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he liked to drink, probably more than he probably should have. And I can remember him when I was probably 6, 7 years old, giving me my first drink. And I've had problems with alcohol forever. But I had forgotten that even happened until I was talking to my sister and we're telling stories. And she's like, yeah, do you remember that time? And I'm like, no. And then I sat and did some shadow work and I found it. This is the stuff that gets repressed. My sister was really smart and really athletic. And I was neither. I mean, I golf and I play racquetball. I play more one-on-one sports. But I think it's because she was more of a team sport person and, just got buried into me that I would never be athletic like, my sister, my brother. I'll never match up to them. And I'll never be as smart as my sister. So it's kind of like, why bother? And then, as I got older and I started thinking about college, although I did graduate in the bottom 5% of my class, my mom and dad are like, if you can get a job as a secretary and get married, you're in. That's a great life. Well, I obviously had higher aspirations, but you have all these blocks, all these shadows getting into your way. And they come in so many different forms. There's small shadows that hide the big shadows. And you really have to learn how to pull these shadows out and look at them. And it's hard. I mean, when you hear about sabotaging behavior, that's shadows running in the background. But because we only learn how to kind of look at our sabotaging behaviors, kind of look at why you drink or kind of look at, why you lose 20 pounds and put on 25 pounds, it's hard because it's locked away, it's repressed. We're going to talk a lot more about shadow work because I think going into 2021, it's going to be important for people to get through a lot of the trauma from 2020, and a lot of the trauma that we saw also brought up past trauma that people really have to work through because, as I said, you can be really successful and still have so many blocks. But I think as we become successful, we forget about looking at it because we look at everything around us and say, well, I'm a CEO, my paycheck's great, you know, I belong on all these boards, you know, I lobby down at the legislature, I do all this stuff, except that counts, because that I hesitate on. You know, the things that could make me better, I hesitate. Standing out, really standing out in a big way, I hesitate. I'll stand out in a little way, but not a big way. And I had to find that shadow to figure out what was holding me back from going out big. You know, I started a side hustle, this business. I've had it for 4 or 5 years, and it does okay. It's kind of the theme of my life. And I just realized this recently, again, through shadow work, is everything in my life is kind of, I don't want to say vanilla and I don't want to say mediocre, but it's just average. Now, some people will be like, you're crazy, Karen, look at you. But to me, it's average, because I don't want to get too high or get too low, you know, because there is trauma. So if you got too high or too low, the trauma came into play. But I had to learn how to heal that. We're going to talk about that. And if you have any questions, please write it in the comments below. DM me, reach out to me, because this is so very important. I'll be launching a new program on how to do shadow work. It'll be an online course, because shadow work, it helps to have a coach and a mentor, but it also kind of helps to do some of it by yourself. Until you get in the flow of it, until you get to the big ones you don't want to look at. But, you know, 2020, I had a reckoning. I could continue to be average for me, and everybody's average is different. I mean, whatever you perceive as average, you know, and you may, you know, and I hope you're sitting there saying, well, I'm not average, I'm freaking great, because I love those people. I love people that are like, that own who they are, that own their power. But sadly, so many of us women don't. And I got to make 2021 the year of the woman. I have to help participate in it. I have to help women step up and run for more political offices, become CEO in more companies, join the C-suite, work their way up, whatever it takes, so we can eventually get a woman president. I know some of you, and if you guys are listening to this, you know, my market isn't men, so I love you guys, love men, but obviously my market's women. So, I mean, I just want to see women rising up. This has been a horrific year on everybody, but I think women have really paid a toll because the salaries are less, just for a lot of reasons. But we accept it. That's what we have to work through. That's what shadow healing does. We work through what we're willing to accept and figure out, why do I want to accept that? And is it something I want to accept, or is it something I've got to get out of there? I mean, I've done shadow work and seen things in my life, and I thought, I'm okay with it. At least in this moment in time, I'm good with it. But other things like standing up in a big way, taking on bigger roles, settling for success over here in my CEO job, but not success over here in my side hustle job. Because this is a company and I can hide behind a company, but this is me and it can't hide behind me. So we're going to do a lot of talking about that. Just kind of remember, or please remember, shadows are the bruised, repressed pieces of your life that others, not you, that others found were unacceptable. And we're really going to help. We're really going to help work through that, heal these bad boys, because I want 2021 to be your best year ever. Have a great day, and here's to igniting your possibilities and finding your blue rose.